allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming. First item of business tonight is approval of the December 4th business session minutes.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, the approval of the bills list.
Move to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Next, public comments. Any other public comment? Moving on, first up, Admin and Finance Committee report.
Good evening, Mayor, board members. First, I wanted to apologize. The cash report didn't actually make it to Joe when I sent the attachment. I didn't include that spreadsheet. So I printed a copy for each of you to give you the cash update as well. So sorry about that. I will take, board member Jones, I'll take my lump of coal in my stocking this year for that. So sorry. But from a revenues perspective, with 2 months completed the fiscal year, we're really looking for revenues to be trending at about 17% of our budget. That's typically what we anticipate. From the general fund, we're close. We're running about there. From a taxes perspective, we do expect most of our taxes to be received in the month of January. That's typical every year, so it's not unusual to have a lower percentage until we get to the month of January. And then we have that large tax payment that we receive, or tax payments that we receive during January to get us caught up for all of the real estate taxes and such. So I would say the general fund is operating from a revenue perspective as expected. Looking on into expenditures for the general fund, all of our programs and departments are operating below the expected expenditure level for this part so far this year, which is a good thing. So we're doing a good job of containing costs, and you can see that in our expenditures up in the general fund budget. Moving on to taxes, streets, those are operating exactly what we expected in the budget. You can see in the tax fund, there are no expenditures for the month of November, but we did just make the first payment that we have. There's 2 payments a year. In debt service, we made that first debt service payment in December, so the next month you're going to see that December payment in there, and that's what we expected. From a streets perspective, we have a few expenditures above what the revenues we brought in so far, but they're not materially out of line with the budget, so no concern there from a finance perspective. Fairs and festivals, it's not fairs and festival season in November, so typically we don't see a lot of activity at this point. We do have a few expenditures and no revenues to offset that at this right now, but that will change once we get to the spring. So again, seasonality is not really a concern when we look at fairs and festivals at this point. Park operations, again, not park season, really, we're not out cutting the grass and those types of things, so our expenditures are gonna remain pretty low until we probably get to like the March timeframe. We might have some things coming in February for supplies and materials, but largely we won't see a lot of activity in terms of expenditures at parks until we get to the March timeframe. The revenues you see is that transfer of money that's coming from the capital improvement fund over to the parks operations fund. So that transfer is going to continue every month, and so you'll see some revenue building in there and cash building, and then you'll see that draw down once we have staff actually working in our parks next spring. Capital improvement for parks, that is your tax money coming in every month, and then the expenditures going out of the transfers over into the parks operations at this point. We haven't made any parks capital purchases, so the expenditures you're looking at are transfer dollars. Water and wastewater. Right now, our water, again, seasonality, water revenues are low because temperatures are cooler. We typically have lower water sales, lower water consumption in the cooler months than we have in the warmer months. So between now and June, typically, unless we just have a super hot May, between now and June, we're going to continue to see expenditures exceeding our revenues, and then it's going to flip the other direction, and generally we will be fine. So just as a reminder, there should be a lot of concern with the dynamic we have between our revenues and expenditures in water. That will flip next June, and we'll start to see that change. In sewer, the reason we have such high expenditures is we have the revamp project, right? We don't budget our capital projects in our operating budget. Those are generally just our staff related and regular ongoing maintenance expenditures. So the revamp expenditure that's sitting in here is showing that we have this very large expenditure. It is for a project that was anticipated. It just wasn't budgeted because we don't budget capital projects here. So that's where you see the difference. Outside how we're doing from a fiscal year perspective. So we've just gone over the revenues and expenditures. Now from a cash perspective, this says, okay, well, where did we start our fiscal year and where are we today? And so you can see in each fund, that middle column that says year-to-date change, that's what's telling you, are we growing reserves or are we spending down our reserves? And that's really an indication of how are we doing compared to what we anticipated. The general fund is holding its own, right? So it's doing about the same as it has been doing all year long, and that's really what we expect. We did not budget for the general fund to have excess revenues. We actually balanced the budget, and we expect it to be about neutral. That's what you're seeing here with only a $485 change in the general fund balance from the beginning of the fiscal year to 2 months into the fiscal year. I would expect that to fluctuate a little bit throughout the year, but we don't expect a big fluctuation there. In the combat fund, you see that we received that $80,000 grant through November. In December, $48,000 of that was transferred to the general fund to cover the payroll that's been happening for the resource officer that is covered by this grant. So you're gonna see that come down in December, but so far in November, all you're seeing is that receipt that came in about the 20th of November. So that's why you see that net change of $76,794. Our tax fund, that is your sales tax receipts coming in, offset by the debt service payment that we just talked about. So we do have a little bit of a surplus there. The street fund, we've made some purchases in the street fund. And so the pickup truck that was purchased during the month of November, that's really the large driver of the drawdown in the street fund so far this year. Fairs and festivals, we talked about that, just a few expenses. Parks, again, operating as we expect because we have tax revenues coming in. We don't have a lot of maintenance expenditures happening, so that's operating as we would expect, as well as parks capital. We just talked about the water and sewer fund, and you can see that here. That large expenditure for the rebate. You can see what that net impact of cash is. However, we anticipated that, and that's why we borrowed money to complete that project. So now we had the money coming in when we borrowed it. Now you see it going back out to pay the bills for getting that project completed. And the remainder of that money coming back out is in the ARPA fund, that grant fund money that was received by the federal government. This also is paying for that same project, and you can see those drawdowns when those payments were complete. So that really walks you through, hey, what's happening with our cash, so that you can understand how we're performing as a government in all of our individual funds. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Did we make the extra principal payment?
Yeah, I was gonna do the jailing.
Okay.
Not yet. We're almost there.
Where are we at on getting an audit?
We don't have any firms that have bid an audit within the budget of the city. So the city currently has budgeted like a $12,000 to $14,000 range. The firms that expressed an interest, their low bid was $25,000. It's significantly higher than what the city has paid in the past. So that's part of the challenge, is getting an audit firm that's willing to do a full gap budget, which is the desire, my understanding, the desire of the board is to have a full audit instead of just a compilation. So we have to get a firm that's willing to do that with it closer to the range of the budget that we have for that project.
So we are still trying, or is that
Yes.
put off?
Yeah, no, we have not put it off. There are a number of firms that have discontinued doing audits on the Missouri side because of the cost for those small governments. They just don't have the budget to pay for it. And so they've shifted some of their business focus onto the Kansas side where they have an opportunity to do a KMAG audit. Those audits are significantly more simplified and don't require full accrual accounting. So those audit firms are able to do those more easily with junior staff. And they're doing that because of the same challenges you all have here, and you can't hire someone to do government accounting. The audit firms can't either. So there is a resource challenge within the accounting space, not just for government entities, but for audit firms to get people to do government audits. And then you have the constraints of the small communities that have lower budgets and are not able to afford that. You know, to give some perspective, your larger governments, your big counties that have audits happening, the cost of those audits range anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million a year. We're talking big money to do big audits. So when you start parsing that backwards for smaller governments, the average cost of an audit for an entity this size is somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000. I know it makes me talk to you. I feel it. Good question.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I know a couple of years ago, we talked about a cost analysis on the court fund. It looks like we're currently leaving about $1,600 a month.
So that court fund is a little misleading, and that that's not where your court operations sit. They sit in the general fund. That court is the money that's coming in from, folks that are being adjudicated, and the money going back out. So that is just a timing issue. So as you have fees and fines that are paid by individuals, that money is held in that court fund and then dispersed back out to all the various entities that they go to, whether it's a state entity or a local entity. So that's really what that is, that's more of a timing. Now, but you're not wrong about the municipal court. The amount of fees that the city is collecting is not covering the cost of the court. And when we look at small governments, again, this is a decision for the board. I will tell you, all the small governments that we do work with have one court resource. So there is a difference between how this is organized and structured and the cost of the court compared to governments your size. Yep.
Thank you, have a
You're
Merry
welcome.
Christmas.
Thank you, Merry Christmas.
Next up, public health and safety.
Go along with the low court funds. Our numbers are down, it's that way every January, February. I'll hopefully get out when it's cold, try to take it, their heat freezes up, I don't know. But the numbers were lower, but the calls were lower too, so we've officially reduced crime in Buckner. I don't know if that's true, but,
I just figured it's Christmas spirit.
yeah, every one of my guys is wearing a Santa suit now, just give it warnings. I've already addressed that, but that's a whole second. They had the car that was in the wreck. Jeremy down here at the body shop, we got torn into it more, and the only way to tell for sure, but he feels like the frame's bent, but they have to pull the engine to tell for sure, and the insurance company so far, they're arguing back and forth about getting this fixed. So basically, nothing's being done on the car right this minute. I'm meeting with Jeremy tomorrow, and we're gonna call the insurance company together and see if we can get something figured out. And then, the only other thing I have is shop was Tuesday night. Considering the last minute debacle that we had, it went really well. There was 10 kids. We had got enough funds for $150 per child, so they all had a good time. The Santa bus that we normally have take them over to Walmart, he had the flu, so we had to cancel that at the last minute. And the parents decided to take them all to Walmart, so they didn't want to drive all the way back on school night here to wrap. So I think there was only one family that came in here to wrap the presents. The rest of them just took their stuff home. But other than that, the kids had a good time. May shock you, but it takes a while to get 10 kids to find out, figure out what they want. I'm glad I don't have little kids anymore, it's all the same. It was a chore, but we got there, we got double booked at Walmart. That was the other thing. They had Bay City Police Department. It seems like that's not a big deal, it's a small department. They did it along with Sky Valley Fire. So there's 15 firemen and Bay City PD. They had 40 kids. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of your cat herding events, but that was a excellent display.
What was the range of ages?
Ours were, well, the parents were there too, so they brought the smaller ones, but the age range was kindergarten to fifth grade. Yeah, fifth. This school goes to fifth, so fifth grade.
Wow.
And we had pretty much. I don't think we had anybody. I think our third grade was the oldest one we had. That's all I've got.
Anyone have any questions? Next up, park board. Planning and zoning. Public works.
I got to report in you guys' package. We had 36 bills that was estimated. We had 50 meters that we read manually, and 52 of our meters are non-functioning right now. Public Works has been working on the Christmas tree lights and other stuff, and the codes, and they haven't done anything to the bill. And next week they should be on that to give the bills for the other 50s again. Snowplow truck, we have London salt supposed to get in. The second one's still on order, it's supposed to be here the next couple of weeks, but it's down there at Andrew's house. So he's getting ready to require it all up, get it put together, and then the plow that was quit working on us in the last storm is also down there in the same truck. That part came in on Tuesday, so he should have, by the time the next storm, he's not supposed to do it next week. Hopefully by the next storm, we're gonna have at least one complete plow truck with spreader. And then we'll have the, other plow truck, we'll have the plow that's working. And then we'll have the new Ford pickup that has got the beef juice tank on it. So it should be, hopefully, before the next storm, hopefully the other spreader in, it should be pretty good
So
shape.
your truck doesn't have a plow.
It comes with the plow hookup, but not the plow.
Okay.
But there is,
So are we looking to see if that, some plow we have fixed?
that's gonna take some hours to do, but yeah. I don't know why, we had two Dodge, same year, same truck, on at the same time. They put a boss plow on one of them and a Western plow on the other one. But then the new truck, the old Ford truck that we had, it was a Western plow. But this new truck we got is also a Western plow, but it's a different frame system. What I want to do is take one off the old truck that's disabled, put it on the truck, put the Western plow on that, then take the other frame and put it on the second dump truck. Both Dodgers had two bosses on it, and the new pickup truck we had the Western. And it's just about, it's just your framework on it. But then that's saved us some money with that. And finally, we hired a new employee. He starts on Monday. He's gonna be the new trainee for the wastewater operator. Local guy, him and his family grew up in this area. In fact, his grandpa was the wastewater operator that trained Wilson. So he's excited about taking over his grandpa's job. Like I said, he's 25 years old, lives in Blue Springs, it's from James Dillon, is his name. But he was Charlie Graham's grandson. That's all I got.
Fairs and festivals. We have no old business, no new business, any elected officials want to comment?
It's been a couple of days since I've driven by the old car wash. I see everything that was piled, the tarp and everything else is now out in the parking lot part of that. So I don't know if we need to contact the owners and have them clean that up, or before that blows away everywhere.
I think you're probably a little late on that.
Yeah.
I saw them, I filled it up yesterday morning.
I was just still sitting there. Okay.
It's not nearly as big a pile as it had been, but there, like,
Right.
a tarp and a chair. There was
But if we can get that out of
a
there.
pickup load of stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully that way it won't migrate its way back inside there.
And we're also checking on the north Hudson situation as well.
All right.
Okay. Are we billing Yellowwood for sewer yet?
No, our attorneys work with them, they think the cleanest way would just build a flat rate. So that they work on that. Hopefully they come back and get report.
But nothing ever came of the chemicals.
Well, you know, so funny, ever since that one meeting, they have been in line 100% perfect. Our bugs are going super great right now, and no funny smell, no odors, or whatever. I ain't saying,
I
I know
just-
they did.
Yeah, I just felt like if there was any cost, if there was cost in what they did, they should have had to pay for it. That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
we didn't get fined or anything.
Huh? No, we didn't get fined.
Okay.
Something that Joe pointed out, you might have already known, our next meeting would be on January 1st. I'm guessing there's not probably a lot of appetite to come down here on New Year. I don't know if you want to push it back to the 8th, because it's a 5 Thursday month, so we could go 8, 15th, or 8, 22nd. But
Yeah, we'll do everything up a week.
Yeah.
Full week. That way we have time between meetings and not do it 2 weeks in a row.
Right. Matter of what the public knows.
That's,
Anything you wanna add?
No, I'm just, working and listening and I'm good. You guys can-
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Everybody's phone, emails working okay?
I think so. It says I got a signal on the Wi-Fi, so
Yeah.
all is well.
Sounds great.
All right, well, as I think you guys, as we wrap up, 2025, I think, you know, we did some good things with the plant getting done and the new truck, and just, I think overall, you guys have done a nice job of representing the city, and thank you for your hard work. Have a great, safe, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. We'll try it again in a couple of weeks.
Back at you, Mayor.